Hey everybody, Dustin DePirac here, columnist Andy Graham. We're here at the HT offices because my laptop died for a while, but it came back to the HT and it was resurrected. I'm sure you guys all care about what happens to my computer, so I'm sure you'll be happy to hear
Just
that
like my St. Louis Cardinals, they
right.
seem dead, but
Yes,
nonetheless.
Exactly. They're purified by the air of the HT or something. I don't know, but one way or another, it works again, so we can shoot video and do scoop talk. Anyway, we were at Memorial Stadium early today and saw more really bad defense again.
Yeah.
59-38 was the final. Northwestern over Indiana. Fourth straight week that the Hoosiers have given up at least 41 points.
And Northwestern was merciful. I mean, Pat
Yes.
Fitzgerald was classy at the end. His reserves were running it right down Indiana's throat, even though Indiana knew they were going to be running the ball every snap. And Northwestern took a knee or would have exceeded the 60-point mark and taken it right in. But
right, yeah. Kevin Wilson thanked Pat Fitzgerald for that after the game, actually, that he, took it easy on him, which I'm sure had to be hard to do for Kevin Wilson. But
I think if you take away a fumbled punt, if you don't count that as a possession, and you take away the possession where they took a knee at the end of the first half, they scored 8 straight. They had 8 straight possessions where they scored touchdowns.
Yeah. No, I mean, they didn't start. I mean, you didn't see the punter until, was it the end of the third quarter or the beginning of the fourth?
No, it was early in the fourth, which drew a Bronx cheer from the few remaining Indiana fans in attendance.
Yeah, so nobody knew. We weren't even sure they brought a punter. We weren't even sure. But they did. But yeah, so basically Northwestern had no problems with the Hoosiers at all. Dan Persa was something incredible. 16 for 20, 261 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kane Coulter came in threw 2 passes, completed 2 of his 3 passes, and they were both touchdowns as well. So 5 through the air. And Northwestern running game, this is not supposed to be a strong point at all necessarily. Rushed for 317 yards on the ground. Jacob Schmidt, who had a total of 166 yards coming into the game, had 110 and 2 scores today.
Well, consider this: Northwestern scored 52 points in 59 plays.
Yeah.
At one point, that was the ratio. At one point.
Yeah.
It was. I tell you what. I mean, I've if people have gone to Indiana football games for a long time, they've seen some really abysmal defensive days at Memorial Stadium. But I got to tell you, this is the worst that I can remember off the top of my head since I was actually an Indiana student. In 1978, I saw Nebraska come in here one time with I.M. Hip at tailback, and I think the final was 69-17 or something like that. But it was like 20 yards up the middle with I.M. Hip running the ball every play. It looked like the parting of the Red Sea, and it was just awful. I mean, it was such a horrible mismatch that. But Northwestern is admittedly a potent offensive team and has shown that this year.
But it shouldn't be like this.
It was right. Dan Persa is completing 75% of his passes, blah, blah, blah. But that's not Nebraska circa 1970s.
No.
There's no way this Northwestern team should run roughshod over
Indiana. They lost 5 straight games. They lost 5 straight games coming into this. And they looked like, this offense looked like, who was Larry Black joked that they're not the Green Bay Packers, but they looked it. I mean, they looked it. Dan Persa might as well have been Aaron Rodgers today. I mean,
it was amazing. I mean, Indiana started 7 freshmen on defense, which is more than any other
FBS team this year.
Team this year. And obviously there have been some injuries, but nothing excuses what we saw today. I think that. If it hasn't happened already, I think very soon Kevin Wilson has to ask some very, very, very hard questions of his defensive staff.
It's tough. I mean, we asked Wilson about kind of that today, just about pass coverage and stuff like that. He says, you're in a tough situation because you need to mix up your coverages because they know what you're doing, but you can only mix them up so much because you're dealing with so many freshmen. But there's a lot of kind of things that I don't want to say they're playing themselves into a corner. That's probably not the way to put it because, realistically, even though they'd kind of fallen out, I guess, a favor to some degree, they did have 3 senior safeties at the beginning of this year, and all 3 of them are hurt. I mean, Adkins was kind of playing a little bit less, Donnell was playing a little bit less than they had at the beginning, but Jarrell Drain was playing really well before he goes out. And now you're dealing with, you're pretty much 2 deep of freshmen, at least first-year playing safeties. I mean, you're the Hardens, Murphy.
But even saying that, you mentioned the Hardens and Murphy. I mean, those guys are freshmen or redshirt freshmen now, yes. But all those guys have seen enough snaps now that they shouldn't be
Right.
totally lost on the field. I mean, I mentioned, I talked to Greg Heben, the sophomore cornerback, about one play in particular. Indiana, got a penalty on a kicking play. Actually had Northwestern pinned back at their own 5, and Indiana was within 10 points at that time. You're thinking if IU actually ever starts playing defense, they might actually be
have
in
a
the
shot
game.
at this.
Right. So it's 3rd and 5 at the 9. And so you're ostensibly going to be trying to take away the first down. I watched Heben deploy into the left flat, and he's 8 yards off the receiver, conceding the first down. But then before the snap, he backs up 8 more yards. He's like 20 yards off the receiver. It was a 23-yard pass completion that was not even contested.
No, it was easy. It was real easy.
I asked Greg.
Kenny Mullen was taking the flat all by himself. They ran 2 guys into the flat on the right hand side, right hand side of the offense, I guess. And it was just easy.
And so I asked Greg, what happened, and he said, actually, and the way he explained it, somebody was supposed to rotate underneath in the short flat there, but nobody did. So it's a blown call.
Right.
But look, we're in the 9th week of the season now, so I mean, either.
At least one of these is happening every week.
Yeah.
At least one badly blown coverage is happening every week. And there were a bunch today.
Presumably they have simplified things to a degree. And if that's true, then there should not be those kinds of mistakes becoming chronic the way it's been in the last few weeks.
Right.
And if not, then you really do. You have to start asking questions. It's like somehow something isn't getting translated here, and it isn't just ability. It's not just talent. It's not scheme necessarily either. It's just total lack of execution. And I see defenders looking at the sideline before the snap, and then not knowing what the heck they're doing. And that has to be addressed. Or I mean, here it was a defensive performance that was so awful that it obscured another pretty decent day by the Indiana offense.
Yeah.
And that's the 2nd week in a row that's happened.
Yeah.
I mean, if Indiana fans want to try and grasp at straws and to remain optimistic about how things are going with the program, Indiana had over 400 yards of offense again today.
Yeah.
Trey Roberson played well again today.
Played
Stephen
really
Houston played well again today. I mean, there are some things. But all of that is unfortunately, from an IU perspective, obscured by the fact that the defense was so awful.
Absolutely. We should talk a little about the offense today. As bad as, I mean, this pretty much says it all. They scored 38 points. They had 488 yards total offense.
Yeah.
488 yards total offense.
Stephen
Trey
Houston,
Roberson
go ahead.
throws for $169 and a score, runs for 121 and a score. Stephen Houston runs for 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, almost 8 per carry.
Yeah, I mean,
they were rolling
Stephen
it
Houston averaged 77.9 a carry. Indiana averaged 6.5 a carry.
Yeah.
Even more than
Gaudy,
Northwestern's
actually.
5.7.
Yeah.
And so, once again, I mean, the
That's
offensive
wasting
line,
a really good offensive purpose. Yeah.
But I mean, now they're going to have to play offense against Ohio State and Michigan State in successive weeks.
Yeah.
And so you can't necessarily count on a continuance
No,
of
you
progress
can't. You
in the ground
absolutely can't.
game, let's
No,
say.
you can't.
But so I don't know what you do now, but I know if I'm Kevin Wilson, and I'm not telling him what to do, but if it's me, I'm having serious conversations with my defensive coaches, and I want those defensive coaches looking in the mirror, because this is not in any way, shape, or form acceptable or excusable. I mean, there are reasons why one could expect the defense to struggle to a degree, but not to this degree.
I mean, in terms of them looking in the mirror, I mean, they have been the whole time. There's been a lot of, I don't want to say there's been more access this way, but, basically we meet with both coordinators every week on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
At some point in time, both of those guys have to face a firing squad, which is a little bit different than it was unless you requested them, you got them, but whatever. But like basically
really
every guy, Doug Mallory and Mike Eckler have been taking our questions all year, and they've been able to provide at least logical responses.
This is going to be tougher this week, though.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're asking themselves these questions.
Sure.
They're looking at this, and you do have to wonder, okay, like where is the disconnect? Exactly where is the disconnect, and is it just part of it that they just can't get these guys to figure it out?
I don't know.
And just do it from play to play. I don't really know. I mean, they seem to know, okay, this is what you have to do. You mix up coverages this way, but it just seems like they're always guessing.
Yeah, but if you listen to the players talk, they talk about a blown coverage here, a blown coverage there. It's like no, guys.
No, there's more.
You guys were awful nearly every single play.
Pretty much.
In fact, the exception to the rule was a time when they would make a decent play.
Yeah,
They'd
exactly.
be in position to make a play.
And I remember he even broke up a pass, and it was like, whoa.
Yeah, well, I
where
mean,
was that today? Not that Heben in particular was playing bad, but
No.
like they were there. That was just kind of the one time all day that they weren't able to do what they were doing passing wise. And a few times it was just flat out execution. You're in the right place,
Yeah.
and you fail to make the play. But a lot of it, they were either in the wrong place or there was just it was just easy. It was just
real
really
easy
really
for Northwestern
easy.
all day.
So, but anyway, that's about all the time we have to talk about all that. But real quick, basketball looked okay. We
Yeah.
saw Haunted Hall Hoops for like, I don't know. I watched like 10 minutes of it because I was beating up my computer. But
honestly, they looked older, better,
Yeah.
bigger, more mature, everything.
last thing, Cody Zeller is jacked. He's jacked. That's a big dude now. Things done changed. Anyway, thanks, guys.